Hello, hello.
Hello.
Today we're gonna study chapter 5.
Fantastic. What is chapter 5 about?
In chapter 5, we have to find the topic of each story. Topic.
That sounds exciting.
Exciting. It is. Alright then, time for exercise 1.
Fantastic.
So, first of all, can you read the text?
I will, and I'll put our vocabulary up. There we go.
Okay, then here we go.
Our addiction to criticizing others is a huge block to effectively giving feedback. When we criticize, even if we choose our words with care, we are likely to assign others to a specific, potentially harmful status. We are likely to assign others, for instance, to the status of being wrong. No one likes to be labeled wrong. Most people get defensive when they are labeled, even when sure they are not wrong. And what's more important, defensive people block messages. Unless you are trying not to be understood, then criticism is not an effective communication strategy. And it doesn't help to call it constructive either. Saying something like, "I'm telling you this for your own development. Your design is all wrong," isn't going to produce positive results. Criticism is criticism. It blocks understanding.
Excellent.
Thank you.
So, first of all, what is the text about?
It's giving advice not to criticize people. Because criticism doesn't communicate your ideas well.
We love criticizing other people, right? But people, they don't want to get criticism, you know.
No,
They don't listen, you know, if they get criticism.
the text says they get defensive. They are
Yeah.
taken aback by it.
Yeah, it blocks communication messages, right?
That's right.
All right, then we can find the answer easily. The answer is number 2. So criticism as a barrier to effective communication. First of all, barrier, what does barrier mean?
Barrier means something that blocks you, or like a wall is a barrier.
I see. So if you get a criticism, you cannot have effective communication, hey?
That's right. Because you put up a wall between you two.
Yeah.
Right?
When people criticize someone, usually people say, "Oh, this is a constructive criticism. This is for you." But even that kind of word doesn't help, huh?
No, because people still take it badly. It hurts them.
Yeah. I see. So, number 1. Why number 1 is wrong?
Importance of accepting other people's feelings.
They don't talk about other people's feeling. They get hurt, you know.
Yeah.
They don't want to get labeled
But
wrong.
it's not necessarily about accepting their feelings. It's about giving advice in a better way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And number 3, key. Can you read it?
Key components of providing constructive criticism.
They did mention constructive, but it's not about the key components of it.
Yeah, when a text says key components, it's as though they're listing a series of things, and that's not happening here.
Yeah. And number 4,
Factors influencing responsiveness to peer feedback. Now, peer means your coworker or classmate, friend. Yeah. Feedback is getting advice about your work. So, factors influencing responsiveness to peer feedback. It's a little bit about that, but it doesn't say many factors. It's
yeah, they didn't talk about any.
they're focused on only one.
I see. What about number 5?
Need for including constructive criticism in feedback.
They said even though it's constructive, the criticism is bad. It says so, right?
Yeah, so including criticism in feedback, that's the opposite
Yeah.
of what the text is about.
Yes. So the answer is number 2.
That's right.
All right then. Let's move on to the next question then.
Very
Exercise 2.
Dun, 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 dun.
All right then.
We'll put our vocabulary up for you.
Oh, it's a little long, eh?
Oh my.
Okay, are you ready?
I can do it.
Here we go then.
Here we go. The competitive arena is, by its very nature, difficult, unpredictable, and uncontrollable. Despite their best efforts, athletes can never prepare for every eventuality that may occur in competition or control everything that may influence their performances. Routines offer a structure within which to prepare for performance and the flexibility to adjust to the uncertain nature of competition. Because routines are not inviolate, but rather provide a guide for athletes to follow, they can also be readily altered to fit the demands of a unique or unexpected competitive environment. Unforeseen changes in the competitive setting, such as weather, unexpected opponents, late arrival, insufficient warm-up space, and broken or lost equipment, can have a disturbing and disruptive effect on athletes before a competition. Athletes often perform below expectations because they are unable to respond appropriately to these occurrences or become unsettled mentally. For example, lose motivation or confidence, get distracted, or experience anxiety. Athletes with well-organized yet flexible routines will be better able to respond positively to these challenges, keep calm, and maintain a high level of performance.
My. So what is the story about?
It's about how unexpected events can alter an athlete's performance.
The athletes, right?
That's right.
Sometimes they have to perform in a different arenas, Sometimes it can be at different countries, So something unexpected can happen, hey?
Yes.
So what do they need to do then?
They need to prepare for the unexpected. Expect the unexpected.
Oh, yeah. How? They need to have what?
Well, they need to have flexible routines.
So routines, what is a routine, first of all?
A routine would be their organized or choreographed set.
Things you do
Yes, exactly.
on a regular basis.
We see this especially with in the Olympics, maybe, with the floor show of some athletes when they do the jumping routines, right? It's always the same. Or in ice skating, where they follow a pattern. But that pattern can easily be changed if something unexpected happens.
I see. So flexible, it can be changeable, right?
That's right, altered.
So the answer is number 1.
Dun, 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 dun.
What is it? The
necessity of flexible routines for athletes. Perfect. That's exactly what we were talking about.
That's right. So what about number 2?
The role of training in preparing for a competition.
They didn't talk about training, the role of training, hey? This is the
no.
flexible routines,
Yeah. They only talk about training in line with routine. So it's more about routine, right?
I see. What about number 3?
The difficulty of developing effective sport routines. Well, I'm sure it is difficult.
Yeah, but they didn't talk about how difficult it is to have a routine, hey?
They did not.
What about number 4?
The reasons athletes should have high expectations.
Well, they didn't talk about high expectations at all,
No.
All right, then.
They use the word expectation, but in light of they get unexpected results because they're not prepared.
I see.
Yeah.
What about number 5?
The effects of sports participation on social adjustment.
What?
Social adjustment is not part of this text, so it's not relevant.
What's social adjustment?
Social adjustment means to be able to join with society in a proper manner.
Yeah, so it doesn't talk about, if you participate in sports, it will help you with, social adjustment or something like that, right? If it's the answer,
That's
so they
right.
didn't talk about it at all. All right then. Okay, so the answer is number 1 again. You know, so now let's move on to exercise 3.
Here we go.
Here we go. All right, then. Can you read the text?
I'm ready.
Okay,
Are you
then.
ready?
Here we go.
We tend to think of myths as rather silly old stories about the adventures and misadventures of gods, warriors, and demons, invented by primitive people to explain a world they could not understand in our modern scientific sense. But it is a mistake to dismiss these stories as trivial and old-fashioned, with no more important meaning for humanity. Scholars such as Joseph Campbell and Claude Lévi-Strauss have shown that common themes in myths from many diverse cultures speak to us about the universal concerns of all people and about ways of thought that all humans share. As we move increasingly toward a unified world, a global village, as it has been called, it is important to see how much basic human nature we all share. The systematic study of mythology reveals important points about the human psyche, about universal human motivations, fears, and thought patterns.
Right. So
Interesting.
So what is the text about?
Well, it's saying that the old myths are still important to study because it speaks about humanity as a whole.
Yeah, it talks about the universe concerns, right?
Universal concerns.
So at the beginning, you know, people usually think myth is a silly old stories, but the second story says, you know, the second sentence says, but it's a mistake if you think that way, right?
Yes.
So you have to focus on but part, you know.
Yeah, and it says as we grow closer as a planet, the global village, we tend to learn that many of our stories are similar. And so it is a universal pattern of concerns that humanity had.
I see. So it is necessary, it is important to study myth then, huh? To understand human nature.
Human nature, to learn about ourselves. Yeah.
So basically, all humans are the same. We have a similar nature, things like that.
Exactly. And so we created similar stories to try and understand the world before we had science to help us understand it.
So myth is not silly stories. It is important, right, to study myth. So the answer is number 3. Can you read it?
The importance of studying myths to understand human nature.
All right, then. Let's take a look at each distractor, okay? The first one.
The most common mythological themes across cultures.
Didn't talk about the themes, eh?
No, but they did sort of mention that we have similar
that's
myths, right? As we get to be a global village. But it didn't talk about which myths. Yeah.
Okay. What about number 2?
The fundamental traits of human nature and psychology.
What is the traits?
Traits means characteristics.
I see.
So fundamental means basic, the foundation. Characteristics of human nature and psychology. They don't talk about them specifically.
That's right. Then number 4.
The difference between mythological stories and historical facts.
Oh, they didn't talk about historical facts at all, huh?
No, they showed the difference between our scientific understanding and myths, but they didn't compare the historical facts.
I see. What about number 5?
The complexity and difficulty of scientific inquiry into mythology.
Inquiry, what does that mean?
Inquiry means to investigate or questions you have.
I see. They didn't talk about how complex or difficult, you know, it is. Eh?
Yeah, again, they just compared that we better understand the world today because of science, but they didn't compare the science of the past to its myths.
I see. So the answer is number 3, right?
Number 3.
That's right. All right, now let's move on to the last one. Exercise 4.
4.
Okay,
Wow.
then are you ready?
I am. Here's our vocabulary. Ooh.
Okay, then here we go.
Are we ready? Good. When we think of medieval Europe, there is a tendency to think primarily in terms of what is visible today. The buildings and cathedrals, the literature and the scholastic philosophy. Yet what is of equal importance, particularly from the standpoint of the rise of modern science, is the fact that medieval culture was a mechanically sophisticated culture, even if little remains today of their machines. For example, Albertus Magnus, the teacher of Aquinas, is rumored to have had a robot in his laboratory that could raise a hand and give a greeting. The story is no doubt apocryphal, but there was in any case a great interest in machines, even if science itself was primitive and qualitative. What is clear is that the spread of mechanical clock technology was underway by the beginning of the 14th century. It is also clear that there was a multiplicity of machines at this time with clockwork mechanisms ranging from monastic alarms, musical machines, and astronomical simulators to striking clocks.
Wow. Hey? So what is the story about?
It's telling us that we have this idea of the past that is not correct. That the past did have machinery, mechanical.
Yeah, when we think about, medieval Europe, we only think about, visible things, right? Something visible.
That we can see
buildings,
today.
Yeah. But what is equally important
is the things that have already been lost to history, such as the machines of its time.
Yeah. So the culture, the Europe, a long time ago, they were mechanically sophisticated culture, huh?
Yes, they actually understood physics quite well, as well as gears and machinery.
So we don't think about science when we think about medieval Europe, but there was sophisticated machines or things like that.
That's right. If you've ever opened up a watch or a clock, not digital, it's very complicated, and they had them quite early on.
So there were two examples, right? That people in medieval Europe, they had an interest in technology, right? So
Yes.
two examples. How many examples?
They had several,
Yeah.
beginning with 14. It's also clear that there's a multiplicity of machines, multiple, many.
And some also had a robot or something in his laboratory.
Yes, but they say that's apocryphal, meaning it's not quite appropriate.
No evidence.
No evidence, yeah. It's hearsay, as we learned in another one. But the possibility would have been there because they had clockwork mechanisms, alarms, musical machines.
I see.
So there were lots of things that we might be surprised at their technological
So this
advancement.
one shows, they had a great interest in machine, even in the medieval Europe, eh?
That's right.
I see. So can we
The
check
answer
answers?
is number 4.
Check. Okay,
Very
let's take
good.
a look at each distractor. The first one, what is it?
What we have is different factors that led to the rise of medieval Europe.
No, the
No.
rise of the medieval Europe.
No, that doesn't talk about politics or competition or anything like that.
Yeah, they didn't talk about different factors either.
No,
eh?
only technology.
And what about number 2?
Positive influence of medieval philosophy on architecture.
They only mentioned the buildings and cathedral, right?
Yes, but that's where they stop.
Yeah.
So,
Okay. And number 3?
common problems of religious societies of the Middle Ages.
Religious society, they didn't talk about religion at all.
No, not at all. Yeah. I don't think at all. Yeah.
No? What about number 5?
Popular reasons people in the Middle Ages disliked technology.
Oh, it's the opposite, huh?
That's the opposite. Yeah, they're saying that they were actually quite taken with technology.
Yeah. All right, so the answer is number 4.
Fantastic.
So in chapter 5, there are only 4 questions, So that's all, Okay, now time for exercise 6.
Fantastic. And what are we doing in exercise 6?
In exercise 6, we have to find the best title of each story.
Oh, finding titles. Fun.
And Stinky, she's gonna help us.
She's here to help us. Wonderful.
Wonderful.
So,
Okay, time for exercise 1.
Here we go. Many of us tend to feel uncomfortable making requests of anyone beyond our inner circle of family and close friends. But in doing so, we vastly underestimate the responsiveness of weak ties, our acquaintances, and people we don't know very well. Weak ties are extremely valuable because they are the bridges between social circles. Novel information, new solutions to problems, and other resources travel across these bridges. We also vastly underestimate the responsiveness of dormant ties, the connections we once had that we haven't maintained. For example, most people wouldn't even consider reaching out to a high school classmate they haven't seen in 25 years to ask for a job lead. We assume such attempts to reconnect would be rejected, or that our former classmate would resent our reaching out only to ask for a favor. But most people in our past would actually welcome hearing from and helping you, according to organizational researchers. The passage of time doesn't erase a shared history of understanding, emotions, and trust.
Excellent. Okay, so what is the story about?
Well, it seems to be about using our connections to ask for favors.
So we tend to, contact or ask a favor from those people in inner circle, right?
Yeah, our close family and friends.
But, we need to contact or don't be afraid of, asking a favor from people beyond your inner circles, right? For example, weak ties or dormant ties, right?
That's right. Our weak ties are the acquaintances that we don't know very well. And dormant ties are the connections we had long ago in the past that we have not connected with in a long time.
That's right. You can get new information or other resources from them, right? So do not underestimate them,
That's right.
So we need to maintain bridge, right? Beyond our inner circle.
Yes.
So the answer is what? Number
1.
Okay. So let's take a look at its distractor. The first one, number 2.
How to manage your ties with close friends.
It's not about managing, your ties with close friends.
It actually recommends going outside of your close friends.
That's right. Like weak ties or dormant,
That's
ties,
right.
And number 3,
why people ask their acquaintances for help.
They feel uncomfortable, right, when they ask, their acquaintance for help,
Yeah, and it's about seeking out acquaintances and going outside your inner circle. So it's not about why, but it's giving advice to do it.
Okay, number 4.
Number 4, the closer you get, the more you will be trusted. Oh.
Okay. That's not it, right?
Yes, because it says that even a history of connection will maintain that trust over time, even if you have lost being close.
So even though you didn't contact your high school friends for a long time, they will be happy to help you if you ask for help, right?
That's right.
And number 5,
why your relationships between family members are valuable.
It's not about your family members, right?
It's not. It's recommending that you go outside of your family and close friends to further help you get leads to jobs or other advice, or they also say novel information or solutions.
That's right. Okay, then let's move on to exercise 2.
Here we go.
Ooh. Okay, are you ready?
I'm ready. Is Stinky ready?
Stinky
is ready.
Okay, here we go.
Many times our greatest growth periods come through the experience of pain. Those of us who have experienced a dark time in life through serious illness or emotional trauma know the opportunity it brings for enormous wisdom and insight. Sometimes we have to experience the contrast of darkness in order to find the light. Indeed, there are lessons within our lives that may be much more apparent in the darkness of our despair because we focus more intensely when there are fewer things to see. It is like walking into a dark room. At first, we can see nothing. Yet, after our eyes have had a chance to refocus, we begin to see particular items in the room, even though the room is still dark. Likewise, we can have some very profound insights about areas of our life that need improvement while we are quietly lying in bed recovering from an illness, away from our hectic daily routines.
All right. So what is the story about?
The story is about taking the negative trauma that you're experiencing and showing it to be a positive that we can refocus on what's important in our life.
So when we go through hard times, we can grow, right?
That's right. So it's the idea that every experience is a good experience if you learn from it.
All right. So we can find the answer then, huh?
Let's see.
So dark times are when we really grow. So dark time in this sentence, it means, hard times or difficult times.
That's right. We have an expression, no pain, no gain.
Yeah. So if you click, you can actually see no pain, no gain.
Dun, 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 dun. Very good.
Okay. So, the first one.
What you see can fool you.
What?
So it doesn't talk about that at all. That's
It talks about when you are in dark, you can see better, you can focus on, main several things, right? Only
That's right.
few things, So, number 2.
let go of what you can't change. So yeah, it's not about ignoring your problems. It's about being able to focus on them.
Yeah. You can become a better person, when you go through a hard time, right? Okay, number 3.
Look on the bright side of your life.
That means think positively, right?
Yeah, this is a good distractor. But it's saying that it's your dark side, your trauma, that is allowing you to grow in your life. But it's not about having a positive experience.
That's right. And number 5.
Pain is the primary enemy we should fight against.
Ugh. It's the other way around, isn't it?
It
we
sort of
need
is.
a pain,
Yeah, it's saying embrace your pain.
Yeah. To grow, you need a pain,
Yeah.
So it's not an enemy.
That's right. It's something we don't want, but when it happens, we can grow from it.
That's right. Okay, now let's move on to exercise 3.
Here we go.
Oof,
Well, it's a big one.
it's a long story.
Oof.
All right then,
There's
here
our
we go.
vocabulary. Stinky, are you ready? Privacy has not always characterized American families. Before the 19th century, people felt free to enter others' homes and tell them what to wear and how to treat their children. The development of the value of family privacy and autonomy emerged with the separation of home and work and the growth of cities during the late 19th century. Innovations in the amenities available within the home over the years, indoor plumbing, refrigerators, telephones, radios, televisions, central air conditioning, home computers, tablets, and smart speakers, for example, have all increased the privacy and isolation of American households. Our need to leave home for entertainment, goods, or services has been considerably reduced. Air conditioners, for instance, allow us to spend hot, stuffy summer evenings inside our homes instead of on the front porch or at the local ice cream shop. With the internet, text messaging, social media, and home shopping cable networks, family members can survive without ever leaving the privacy of their home. The institution of family has become increasingly self-contained and private.
So what is the passage about?
Well, it's talking about how in the past the community was far more involved in your private life.
Even in America, huh?
Everywhere, yeah.
Everywhere.
But as technology has advanced, the convenience has gotten to the point where we can stay at home and preserve our privacy away from the community.
So, thanks to technological innovation, people had a privacy, more privacy maybe.
Yes, we've developed a more private family structure.
So, we can find the answer easily then. The answer is number 5.
Increased privacy of American family with technological innovation.
So people like in America, even in America, before 19th century, there were no privacies, right? So
There was no privacy, that's right. And it's because you had to enter the community far more often. Now you can get your groceries delivered, so you don't go to the grocery store.
yeah,
You had to go to the movie theater, but now you have a movie theater at home.
that's right. We have the internet, we have a refrigerator, all
Yeah.
thanks to all the technological innovation, we don't really have to go outside,
That's right.
Okay, so the answer is number 5.
That's right.
Okay.
Number 1 says, real challenges of ensuring privacy at home. It's no longer a challenge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks to innovation, right? Technology. Number 2,
Financial stability maintains strong family networks.
it doesn't talk about financial stability,
That's true. It doesn't really factor into the message it's giving.
And number 3,
Being online, social benefits versus privacy concerns.
well, they only mentioned the internet, as an example of a technological innovation. Right?
That's right. It's not about the internet only.
Yeah. And number 4,
Ways the development of household gadgets enhances daily life. So, while it's true, it talks about how the household gadgets are beneficial. It talks about them as a focus of privacy.
that's right.
Not about convenience.
Yeah, so it doesn't talk about, number 4 doesn't say anything about privacy, right?
That's
So
right.
it cannot be the answer. All right, now let's move on to the last one. Exercise 4.
Stinky on the... There we go.
Ta-da!
Stinky
Okay.
was holding us back.
Yeah.
Okay, here we go. Social media and the possibility of connecting people across the globe through communication and information platforms may seem like a tool for tolerance because technology enables people to see and participate in worlds beyond their own. We often identify teens, in particular, as the great beneficiaries of this new cosmopolitanism. However, when we look at how social media is adopted by teens, it becomes clear that the internet doesn't level inequality in any practical or widespread way. The patterns are all too familiar. Prejudice, racism, and intolerance are pervasive. Many of the social divisions that exist in the offline world have been replicated and in some cases amplified online. Those old divisions shape how teens experience social media and the information that they encounter. This is because while technology does allow people to connect in new ways, it also reinforces existing connections. It does enable new types of access to information, but people's experiences of that access are uneven at best.
My. All right, so what is the passage about?
Well, it's saying that social media enables all kinds of new social interactions, but these social interactions replicate or are very similar to in-person interactions. So the same problems occur online as do offline with regards to prejudice and inequality.
So at first, people might think thanks to social media, there is no inequality, So it's the social media bring, equality and tolerance, but not really,
Yeah, the same problems that society
It
faces,
exists on
the real world
online.
happen on the online world.
Yeah. Okay. So kind of it reflects, right?
It reflects society as a whole.
I see. So we can find the answer then.
Number 5, offline social divisions mirrored in and magnified on teen social media.
So offline social division, what does that mean? Social divisions?
So social divisions means the things that separate us in society, and that could be gender or race or wealth or anything that creates different camps.
So those problems, so those divisions still exist online, right?
They still exist online.
Yeah, okay,
And are even sometimes amplified, made worse.
My, even worse. Okay, now let's take a look at each distractor. The first one.
The pros and cons of social networking for teens.
What is the pros and cons?
So pro means benefits and con means drawbacks.
So they didn't talk about pros about social media, huh?
Well, I mean it says that it connects people across the globe, but it's not about
Pros and cons.
pros. It's more about the cons.
I see. What about number 2?
Can online degrees reduce global inequalities in education?
Oh my. Degree, first of all, what does that mean?
So a diploma or a university completion.
That's right. So it doesn't talk about online degrees, right?
Yeah, so it's not about education. It's about social interaction.
That's right. Number 3.
Social media and teen depression. The two go hand in hand.
I don't think they talked about depression.
They didn't. I mean, these problems might create depression, but it's not about depression.
Yeah. Number 4.
Are your teens' communication problems due to social media use? It's possible, but that's not what it's about. It's not about how teens communicate. It's about online experience.
Yeah, it's not about only communication problems, right?
That's right.
Okay, so that's all for today then.
Wow.
Today we had a good student here.
We did.
Thank you. Studied very hard.
Very hard with us.
Wow. Thank you.
What a good girl.
All right then. We will see you in chapter what?
Chapter 7.
7. All right then. See you soon.
Take care.
Take care.